For problems 4, 5, and 6 in this assignment, we're going to have to solve a system of equations algebraically. So in this problem, the two systems or the two equations I have are y equals negative 4x minus 11 and y is equal to x minus 1. Let me show you how to solve a system of equations algebraically. So I've already kind of written down this assignment, so I'm just going to kind of move this over here a little bit. Get this in the right spot. So I've written down the two equations. So the two equations are, again, y is equal to negative 4x minus 11 and y is equal to x minus 1. The way I solve these algebraically is by setting the right sides of the equations equal to each other. So in this problem, I'm going to write down negative 4x minus 11 is equal to x minus 1, because that is the right sides of both equations. Okay? Now let's go ahead and solve for x. So what I do for that is I get all my x's to one side of the equation. I'm going to do that by subtracting 1x from both sides. On the left side of the equation, I have a negative 4x, a negative x, and that's going to be negative 5x. I'm going to drop down the negative 11. On the right side, I have a zero pair of x and negative x, and I'm going to drop down the negative 1. So I have x on one side. Now let's get the numbers to the other side. I do that by making a zero pair with a negative 11. So I'm going to add positive 11 to both sides. There's my zero pair. So I'm going to drop down the negative 5x. And on the right side, I have negative 1 and positive 11. They work against each other. I have more positives. And I actually have 10 more positives. Now to solve for 1x, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 5. If I divide one side by negative 5, I have to divide the other side by negative 5. Negative 5 divided by negative 5 is 1. So I just have x on the left side. And 10 divided by negative 5 is going to be, negative 2. So I have done part of the problem. I have x is equal to negative 2. Now to solve this system of equations, what I have to do is find my y also. And the way I'm going to do that is by plugging x is equal to negative 2 into the x in both equations. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to write down my first equation, which was y is equal to negative 4x minus 11. But x is really equal to negative 2, so I'm going to replace that x with negative 2. So I have y is equal to negative 4 times negative 2 minus 11. A negative times a negative is positive, so negative 4 times negative 2 is positive 8 minus 11. They work against each other. I have more negatives, and I actually have 3 more negatives, so I have y is equal to negative 3. Now I want to check my answer with the other equation to make sure I did this correctly. So I'm going to write down my other equation also, which is y is equal to x minus 1. But just like before, my x is equal to negative 2, so I'm going to replace my x with negative 2. So I have y is equal to negative 2 minus 1. Now they work together, so I'm just going to add them up and keep it negative. So y is equal to negative 3. Notice I have negative 3 over here for y and negative 3 for there for y. So I did that correctly. I like to put a little check mark to show that I did it correctly. And now the point of intersection, what you're going to type into your answer for the problem, is going to be your x first, which in this case is negative 2, and then your y, which is negative 3. And that's how you solve a system of equations algebraically.